Great. Good afternoon. Hope everyone is having a absolutely fantastic summer. I know that I speak for my entire team in that this has been a very hot and a very busy um, summer here for us at Freedom here in Northern Virginia. It seems like, on one hand, if things can go wrong, they will. If it can get hotter, if we think it can't get any hotter, it can. And if we feel like we've seen the last of water intruding our properties, just wait until tomorrow. So we really want to make sure that in the past, we've always tried to be as transparent as possible for our property owners. And so having these frequent Zoom meetings is one way that we can remain front and center, have some extra face time, kind of let you know what's happening behind the curtain, let you see faces that you may not ever see if you don't come into the office, and just give a little more, like I said, of that. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Tiffany Eisenhower. I'm the principal broker and owner here at Freedom Property Management. And we are celebrating this year, 2025, our 20th year in business. And I've been incredibly grateful to be a part of the Freedom family since 2011 when I came and partnered here. So the industry has changed drastically. Our team has changed. Our clients have changed. Some of our clients have not. We've got some clients that we've had for the entire 15 years I've been here. But it's crazy to see and to experience all of that. So first and foremost, we want to thank our clients, our landlords, for trusting us with one of your biggest assets, with your investment property. We don't take that lightly. We do our best by our landlords and by our tenants to be as proactive as possible. We're not perfect. Believe me, we'll get into a little bit of that honesty here in this meeting as well. But we definitely want to do what's best for our landlords and our tenants in the long run. I do want my team to have an opportunity to introduce themselves so that you can see and hear from them directly. I'll pass off to kind of my second in command, Tracy, our property manager, have her give you a little introduction of herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tracy Terry. I'm with Freedom Property Management. Oh, forget all that stuff. I'm your property manager. I'm your go-to person, and licensed. Been in the business many, many years, and love getting to know your houses, but also I enjoy getting to know our owners and tenants. And therefore, the more I know your house, the more I can better serve both yourself and your tenants, and minimize expenses wherever possible. So thank you for letting me have my moment. We'll go to Miss Ella, third in
Hi,
charge.
good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy that you're all here joining us for this meeting. I'm Ella, the Director of Operations. I'm doing a little bit of everything. So, if you have any questions, I'm fine, just receiving all of them. Give it all to me. Just kidding. So, I'm overseeing the other team members that we have in helping out with some of the improvements in our processes, and hopefully we can serve all of you better. So we can go now to Ruel, our assistant property manager.
Thank you, Ella. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Urwell. I'm your assistant property manager here at Freedom Property Management. So I'm currently supervising our maintenance as well as our leasing side. So just in case you do have questions to both, you can also direct your call to me. I'm definitely glad to assist you on that one. And thank you everyone for joining today's meeting. So I hope we all learn the new updates. And if just in case you do have questions, let us know. Thank you, everyone. So let me introduce to you our next person in line, Stacy. I'm giving you the floor.
Hello all, I am Stacy Bowman. I am on the real estate side of things. I will be here to not only help tenants look at your properties, I am on the real estate side to help with all buying and selling. So if we have any landlords or investors that are looking to either add to their arsenal of properties, or if they are looking to sell anything, I'm your point of contact there and would be your asset. I am also here to help if any of our tenants are looking to be first-time home buyers. Anything in the real estate realm is my go-to. Excited to meet everybody, and thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Stacy's our phenomenal photographer.
Yes,
I wear many hats.
thank you, Stacy. And then we round up our maintenance team with one of our newest team member, Jai. Jai is our maintenance coordinator. If you want to say hi, Jai.
Hi everyone. I'm actually the new teammate or the new member of Freedom Property Management. So if you have questions about maintenance, just actually you can call us or send us an email or send us the work order.
Thanks, Jai.
Sure.
And I think rounding out the team that we have on is our leasing assistant, Pat.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us at July Freedom Meeting, and I'm the leasing assistant. So I'm happy to meet you all. And if you have any questions with the leasing assistant, you can contact us. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. So we're going to roll right into a little bit of market updates, some maintenance updates, and some maintenance hot topics. We're going to do a real estate update, and then we're going to go through some of the legal things that have come up here. As you may or may not know, in Virginia, the laws and regulations can change twice a year, January and July. And so that's one of our jobs for you, is to stay on top of those changing regulations and to stay aware of what's coming up down the pike. So we'll go through some of that with you, as well as some changes to Freedom's processes, policies, and we've got a whole slew of new and updated forms, both on our landlord side and on the tenant side, that are going to be rolling out in August. So give you a little sneak peek of what that will be as well before we wrap things up at the end. Again, if you have any questions along the way, let us know. If we're going too fast, say stop or slow down. So I'm going to hand over to Roel and allow him to go through a bit of the leasing summary. And I'll probably jump in a little bit here and there to fill in with any additional information.
Thank you, Tiffany. There you go. So here's actually our leasing summary report for the month of June and July. So for this 2 months, we have total properties listed at 17. And then out of 17, we have total 4 properties that has been leased. And average days on the market is actually 34 days. So those properties renting the fastest would be those properties that allow pets, no landlord job transfer clause, and also freshly painted carpet, good appeal, or visible deferred maintenance. And below are the top 3 move-out reasons that we're actually receiving. Number 1 is military orders, owner moving back into the property, and lastly would be the property being sold.
Excellent. Thank you, Roel. So to go a little deeper for you, as you see, we've had 17 properties listed and only 4 have rented. And the average days on market has more than doubled from month to month. Now, while we hate seeing those numbers, it's also not unusual. When we look back historically, the July months tend to be like your summer slump. And that's the same on the real estate side. Stacy will tell you about that in a minute. But in previous years, we have seen the largest number of leases happening in April, May, and June months. And then the slump in July, and then we have another big uptick in August before things tend to kind of die down a little bit. So for those of you that have been with us for a while, you'll remember we try to keep your leases renewing during the spring and early summer months. And this is the reason why. Because we want to make sure that we're turning your properties over as quickly as possible, minimizing vacancy, getting the highest rent rate that we can, with high quality tenants. And most of that demand happens in the April, May, June timeframe. Not to say that properties don't rent all these other times, but as we're seeing, it just takes 2, sometimes 3 times as long for that to happen. And additionally, the feedback that we're getting on the properties that have been on the market for a little bit longer is, that renters are choosing others. There's more inventory on the market, so renters have options, and they're choosing others that might be more updated, that are in the same price point. They're choosing others that don't have a job transfer clause for the landlord built into it, because they don't want to have the risk of having to move in 6 or 8 months because the landlord's being transferred back to the area. Obviously, we've had a lot of that happen here in the DC metro area this year, with return to office, with a lot of the federal job and government job cutbacks. So that's all very, very fresh and top of mind for our tenants and for our landlord clients. And so that is weighing in on some of their decisions. And then also the deferred maintenance piece. If tenants are coming in and they're seeing, overgrowth on the exterior, or wood rot on the exterior, or, older carpet that maybe it's clean, but it doesn't look or smell the best, they're moving on to other properties. So even more reason for us to focus on good turnovers in between those tenants. Any other feedback, Tracy, that you've received as you've been speaking with some tenant agents that are showing our properties?
The only thing that I have found is that there are applicants sometimes putting applications on more than one property, and it could be down to who responds the fastest, or it could be down to which was their preference and did they get approved for that one. So that's why sometimes we're a little hesitant to share information so quickly, because it could change just as quick as it happened. Don't get down in the dumps just because you're not getting a lot of applications. It could be that there's so much competition in your area that they have lots to pick from. And like Tiffany was saying, sometimes it's just the simple things. It could be prefer an in unit versus an interior unit, a corner lot versus not corner lot, near the swimming pool versus near the bus stop. So everybody's got their own preferences. And there's certain things that we can't do anything about, things such as preparing the property and giving its best chance to show well is the things that we can take care of. And we want to get those things done before they go on the market. So, yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Tracy. And, we're keeping an eye on trends. We're staying in close communication with our realtor partners and with a lot of our property management colleagues in Northern Virginia. We really try to maintain good relationships there so that everyone is more likely to share information. And we're all experiencing the same level of activity. We're experiencing a lot of the same struggles with properties taking longer to rent, even in very high demand areas. And there's really there's no answer other than it's just kind of how the market is shifting right now. And so for those of you that may have turnovers coming up, let's just kind of keep that in mind in terms of setting expectations that vacancy might be a little longer than what we've experienced in the past. We've had a very, very, very landlord friendly, very strong rental market the last several years with limited inventory. That inventory has picked up a little bit. And so we're seeing things take just a little bit longer. All right. We'll move from our leasing report to maintenance. All right, I'll let Roel do an overall of this one, and then I'll jump in at the end.
No worries. Thank you, Tiffany. Yeah. So for the maintenance side, so I'd like to go over, our service request statistics for the past 2 months. This will give us, insight into volume, response times, as well as residents' feedback regarding the maintenance issues. So for the last 2 months, we had like a total of 44 work orders submitted to us. And the number increased significantly, in the month of July, reflecting the heightened, activity during the summer months. And having that in mind, despite of the increase, we maintained like solid average completion time to at least 7 to 10 days average. And this includes, urgent or both urgent and non-urgent requests, and considers delays due to the parts availability or contractor scheduling. And most common issues that we receive are the following AC issues such as condensate line leaks or units not cooling properly, electrical outlet problems, garage doors, and some appliance, issues. And with the feedback or satisfactory rating that we're actually receiving from the residents, out of 13 work orders or received feedback, 10 were rated with the highest score of 5, which shows strong tenant, satisfaction with the service provided. And we'll definitely continue to monitor, this data to improve responsiveness, identify trends, and prioritize preventive maintenance where needed. And also some of the residents' concerns that we receive, taken note some of the recurring concerns from residents, specifically time frame for repairs, which particularly when the parts needed to be ordered, which can cause avoid unavoidable delays, as well as the quality of home warranty contractors where expectation haven't always been met. So we're actively working to address, both issues, exploring vendor alternatives, and closely monitoring warranty service quality to improve both service and or speed and service for both residents.
Exactly. Thank you for the summary, Roel. And as Roel mentioned, the surge in work orders in July, a part of that was due to turnovers, and a part of that due to we've had some monster summer thunderstorms, and we've had a lot of air conditioning issues, to the point that, and I pulled some research and some numbers yesterday. We have already, year to date, we've already surpassed the total HVAC repair expenses that we paid all of last year in our portfolio. So we're just here at the end of July, and we were already $15,000 over all that we spent last year. And so there's our next slide will kind of go into a little bit of that being a hot topic and why that's happening. So if you've been putting off HVAC repairs, if you know that you have an old system, let's go ahead and start getting those budgeted in so that we can respond quickly, as a lot of the properties in our area are getting to that age, and the HVAC systems are getting to that age that it's more costly to repair. And so replacements are happening across the board. Additionally, in September, we're going to start some of our proactive fall maintenance. So you'll be getting a communication from our team on that. And that will include HVAC servicing for properties that have active HVAC service contracts. And those usually look like a spring and a fall visit from the HVAC technician to check the system, check the pressure levels, clean the system if needed, make sure obviously that the filter is being changed, and then provide any proactive recommendations to keep the system up and going. We'll also be looking at, for those properties that have seasonal landscaping needs, as well as gutter cleaning for applicable properties. We'll start getting those scheduled out, so you're starting in September. So keep an eye out on that. And it's so important that we stay proactive and vigilant with maintenance. Deferred issues is the number one cause of your higher expenses on the landlord side and of resident frustration. So us doing periodic inspections of the properties and providing a breakdown of what those deferred maintenance things or recommendations. It's not because we want to spend money. It's not because our contractors want to make money. It's because we want to make sure that we're protecting your asset and we're preventing future issues. I mentioned that we've had some monstrous thunderstorms here this past month. And with that has come water coming into properties in places where we hadn't seen it before. And that could be because of, old windows or gutters that are overly full or roof leaks with old roofs. We've had some drainage issues on the foundations of houses where the downspouts are not draining away from the house. And so you end up with several inches of rain falling in a very short period of time, and that has no place to go but into your house. We'll move to the next slide, which really goes into some maintenance hot topics, and I'll probably take on this one, Roel, because I spent a little extra time on this than I wanted to, because we've had a lot of maintenance concerns. We've had good, we've had bad, and on top of the increased summer volume, we're also training some new team members. And so thank you to our landlord clients who have been patient with us. Again, we're not perfect. We're working to improve every day. And so we have had an increase in some dissatisfaction and miscommunication and misinformation. But again, working towards getting that on the right track. So some of the hot topics, again, that we have worked through, I talked about HVAC systems, the continued phase out of the R410A is a major contributor to the rising costs of HVAC repairs. And reminder that the refrigerant there is no longer being, I'm sorry, those systems are no longer being manufactured. And so the refrigerant is not being produced as widely anymore, which is making it harder to find that R410A and more expensive when your system that uses that needs to be recharged. So while it's not imminent, it's not happening tomorrow, and current supplies of that R410A should hold out for a little while, it is good for us to be proactively thinking about what's next and upgrading to the newest systems if you do have a more aging a system. And a reminder that Virginia code does require our landlords to maintain the installed systems and repair them in a timely fashion. That has been something that we'll talk about here in a moment regarding habitability. We get that in extreme temperatures when we've got really, really hot summers and we've got really cold winters and we have no AC or no heat, is the timeline that it takes to get that up and running appropriately, what's reasonable, and how can we make sure that we're protecting our landlord's asset, protecting your money, and also protecting your tenants and keeping you in compliance with your lease. So water leaks and mold is another big hot topic that we have been experiencing much more. Over the past 15 years that I've been here, we've been blessed with incredible quality of properties. And so we don't get a whole lot of water leaks. We don't get a whole lot of big mold cases. But early in 2025, we actually brought in a portfolio of some poorly previously managed properties. And we knew going into it that it was going to be a huge project. And that huge project was a huge understatement. Unfortunately, most of these properties have had issues with water leaks and with mold and with infestations. And it's really brought back to the forefront for us just how important it is for periodic inspections to happen, for proactive maintenance to be happening on roofs and windows and water-based appliances. And not keeping an eye on your property, not performing quality repairs can cause catastrophic property damage, as well as tenants losing their home. which brings us to habitability. And it's been in our face more so with this portfolio I just mentioned. However, we also have been facing it with AC situations when the AC isn't working and it's 90 degrees outside. So what Virginia code requires is if the habitability issue can be remedied within 30 days, then the landlord must be proactive with providing alternate housing for the tenant and then remedying the property so that the tenant can reoccupy. If the expected repair time is over 30 days, then we can immediately terminate the lease and then take the time needed to remedy that property. In situations where when there's no air conditioning and we're looking at 3 to 10 days for repair or replacement, that's a bit of a gray area regarding legal code, as it gives landlord time to remedy the issue. However, it also requires that we're proactive and reasonable to our tenants. So Freedom has really taken the stance as our policy is if it's an emergency in our eyes. If during the middle of summer, the middle of winter, we have no AC, we have no heat, then we're looking at either providing reimbursement for the tenant for them to stay in a local hotel, or bringing in, if it's appropriate, bringing in a window AC unit or a portable AC unit at landlord expense. Tenant's still responsible for paying their rent. Tenant's responsible for all the maintenance of the property, but because it's a habitability issue, we're then looking at landlord covering the costs of that. We also have had a couple of court cases here in Virginia and nationally that has started to bring in the issue of pests and habitability. So bugs and habitability, and then who's responsible? Is a tenant responsible or landlord responsible? And so that's gotten quite a bit of media attention. We've had a couple of our property management colleagues that have reached out to survey, how would you handle this situation? We've got tenants at other management companies that are stating that mosquitoes outside is causing a habitability issue, and responding to that and making sure that we're following both the VRLTA guidelines as well as what's reasonable, as well as what the court case has just recently set as a precedent, where the court case basically said that landlord was responsible for mitigating I believe it was a flea infestation in the property, and that impacted habitability of the premises. The responsibility of who covered the cost was completely separate. So that's where we go back to that's the landlord's responsibility first and foremost to maintain habitability, maintain a safe dwelling unit for the tenant, whether or not it's the landlord's true financial responsibility. If the tenant's responsible for reimbursing because maybe they have dogs in the property that they don't have on a flea and tick treatment, well, then we bill the tenant to reimburse us for the cost of that flea and tick treatment. We can't put our responsibility onto somebody else when first and foremost it's landlord. So having those conversations are always difficult, but that's where we're coming from. We want to make sure and protect you from first and foremost. And then finally, a huge hot topic on maintenance is home warranties. And we have a very, at this point, a hate-hate relationship with home warranty companies. We have not found a home warranty company that is easy for us to work with, that takes good care of our landlords and also takes good care of our tenants. So we receive increased resident dissatisfaction, long repair times, horrible quality of repair contractors that the home warranties send out. And so you'll see in the updated management agreement that we have increased our home warranty admin fee, and we're also tightening and pulling in some of that authorization. So when we do end up in emergency situations like no cooling, no air conditioning in 90 degrees, we're being proactive. We're not putting that on the home warranty. So for those of you with home warranties, I'm sorry, but we can have a conversation. We can try to find a way to have this to work better with you. But at the end of the day, we've got to take care of your property, we've got to take care of your tenants, and we've got to reduce your risk and your liability exposure. And these home warranties are not doing us any favors. So kind of went off on a little tangent there. Thank you, Roel, for letting me take the maintenance side hostage there for a little bit and give everyone a bit of a view behind the curtain of what we deal with kind of on a daily basis and what we're trying to help to protect your properties and your tenants from. So with that, I think our next up is we're going to hand the control over to Stacy. Like Stacy mentioned, she is the lead on our real estate side. And it's been almost a year that we've been kind of working together, and bringing Stacy onto the team has really rounded things out so beautifully, and love that she can have these big conversations with our landlord clients and also still make sure that she's taking care of our tenants as well. So I'm going to hand this over to you, Stacy, to give a quick update on the housing market.
Hello all, Stacy Bowman again. I just have a real brief update, just like on the leasing and tenant side. June and July, we saw a major shift in the market, showing much more seller activity than buyer activity. The first time since 2023, which is kind of crazy. In June, in just Prince William County, we saw an explosive surge of inventory. Homes for sale rose 110%. Month over month. There was 1,171 listings. About 515 of those actually closed in June, which is down year over year, but the inventory still stands at about 724. Half of those sold below list price, while the rest at or above, suggesting an increased willingness to negotiate. However, average days on the market, just like on the leasing side, has gone up, extended in the upwards of 17 plus days. Basically, what this is meaning is buyers are pausing. Affordability remains constrained with interest rates. And that hesitation combined with greater supply is creating a more balanced market, possibly even shifting toward a buyer kind of leverage. So basically what that means, buyers with more inventory and longer market times, they have more negotiation power, especially on pricing and closing flexibility on the seller side. While listing momentum is high, success really depends upon pricing it smartly, preparing the homes thoroughly, and being responsive to offers and everything. So Bright MLS, where a lot of this information comes from, confirms that Northern Virginia data reinforces this is a transition from a seller dominant to a more balanced, possibly even buyer favorable landscape as far as the real estate side. So definitely a shift this year from what we've been seeing in previous, and a lot of the shift has happened just in the last 2 months. So just want to have the conversation. If anybody is looking to list or buy, have the conversation. I'm here to answer anything you have. Yeah, that's all I have for the update. So thanks
Thank you, Stacy,
for joining us, everybody.
So we're, as always, Freedom has been property management first and kind of real estate second. We do have a decent amount of activity and transactions that are happening within our portfolio. We have some landlord clients that have decided that this is the time to sell their investment property, some of which are doing 1031 exchanges and taking those profits and reinvesting them in other areas. Some are reinvesting them in beachside vacation rentals, of which I need to have that Airbnb code once it's ready so that I can come and rent your house. And others are taking the money and putting that into a new primary residence for themselves because of that housing affordability issue that we're really working with. We're waiting to see what the feds are going to do with interest rates today. But for those that have been around for a while, that's not a direct impact. We don't expect interest rates to drop to a point that is going to reinvigorate a certain market of buyers. Those buyers have already adjusted their price points. And instead of those $700,000 houses that they were approved for, they're now looking further out. Maybe they're looking in Stafford instead of in Dumfries, or they're in Fredericksburg instead of in Gainesville. And so they're adjusting their locations and they're adjusting their price points because interest rates are never going to get down below the fours in a time frame that's going to work for our current market. But thank you, Stacy, on that. Again, if any of our landlord clients are interested in sitting down virtually or in person with Stacy and myself to talk about the big picture, to talk about where your rental property is going, we do have, as we discussed a few months ago, the new investor dashboard that's available for all of our landlord clients with our partnership with Blanket Homes that is giving us a bigger picture of what that appreciation is looking like for your asset, how maintenance is affecting that, how vacancy is affecting that. And so we'd love the opportunity to take a look at that and see if there's anything better that could be happening for you. All right, so now drum roll, please. Not a whole lot on the legal side that is going to be a huge change for our landlord clients. It's a lot of kind of CYI things, some disclosure pieces. So first and foremost, tenant fees, or what they call junk fees, and the proper disclosure of those fees has been a huge hot topic for the last couple of years. And that really stirred from the 2020, 2021, when housing was really difficult to come by. And you had, mainly on the multifamily apartment complex side, there were fees and things that were being put in place and not properly disclosed for tenants, and junk fees for everything under the sun. So there's been a lot of pullback in that across the country. What the most recent Virginia update and regulations are requiring that all move-in fees, rent, deposit, if you're in a condo association and the condo association has a move-in fee or an elevator reservation fee, if anything that's due to move in, plus anything that is recurring on a monthly basis, rent, pet rent, insurance, utility fee if it's not being billed separately, all of those have to start on the first page of the lease and have to be very clearly disclosed to the tenant. Additionally, there's been a lot, especially with the current administration, and there was an executive order. We've had a couple of questions, and we discussed this at my last Virginia Realtors meeting earlier this month, with the executive order to HUD regarding fair housing and disparate impact. Disparate impact is very much still in place in Virginia. And what that does is it doesn't allow the landlord, the housing provider, to create policies that specifically would impact one of the protected classes. And so what this has mostly been referred to here lately is illegal immigrants, and the executive order to HUD to report illegal immigrants. At this point, that is not on us as housing providers. Our requirement is to verify that they have a government issued ID and that every applicant or occupant has a tax ID number or a social security number. It has never been a part of our process, and hopefully it won't be. But if changes happen, we'll let you know. But it's never been a part of our process to find out if that applicant or occupant is in the United States legally. That could be very well a fair housing discrimination, especially a disparate impact. So this has come up regarding that executive order. So how does it impact Virginia? It is still very well enforced in Virginia. So while the executive order was issued directing HUD to no longer enforce the disparate impact doctrine at the federal level, Virginia does have its own fair housing laws, which includes the enforcement of the disparate impact doctrine. So there's been no indication that Virginia plans to suspend the enforcement of that. And as such, that doctrine is still fully enforceable in Virginia, and we're not changing any of our processes here at Freedom for that. Additionally, what has been a hot legal topic and something that many landlord clients don't know is called a tenant right of redemption. So what a tenant right of redemption is, it's basically a free ticket out of eviction jail for a tenant. And it allows the tenant one time per lease term. If we go through the delinquency process and we get to the point of getting possession granted and judgment granted by the courts, and eviction hasn't yet happened, it gives the tenant the opportunity to pay everything in full, either to the landlord or to the courts, and get a get out of jail free card. They can cancel that eviction once per lease term and have no adverse consequences from the landlord. What many landlords don't know, and what they're working to, what several organizations are pushing towards, is to have tenants have unlimited redemption rights. And for those landlord clients that have 4 or more rentals or residential properties in Virginia, your tenants already have an unlimited right of redemption. So they could cancel it every month if they so choose. Obviously, they've got to pay their bills and they've got to pay for the filing fees and all of that. And it would come up with renewal time, but making you aware, as we are seeing this shift in market, we're seeing a huge increase in fraud and in rental and leasing scams. And so as the housing affordability, as this is all adjusting and we're keeping an eye on it, do remember that one of those costs of doing business, one of those risks as a residential landlord, is this tenant right of redemption. So another legal reminder, more so for you, EPA rules regarding lead-based paint homes built prior to 1978 does apply to us in residential rentals and does apply to us in property management. We actually, the EPA changed their rules last year, which then required all property managers to become certified lead-based paint renovators. Even though we're not the ones out there swinging the hammer or cutting open the wall, we have to know all the process so that we can hold our contractors accountable and we can make sure that the properties that we're managing are safe for the tenants. And so for those of you with homes that were built prior to 1978, you've probably seen a lot more questions from us, and you've probably even seen some of your maintenance costs increase. Because the home was built before 1978, we have to use certified lead paint renovator contractors. And we have to be sure that they have all of those certifications before they step foot into your property, whether or not your property has tested hot for lead-based paint. Failure to comply with those EPA rules can lead to fines for the landlord and for the property manager of over $40,000 per renovation violation and $20,000 per disclosure violation. So there's a whole process of disclosure to tenant, of cleaning process, and things of that nature that many people don't know. Tracy and I went through this training last year, and it was an intense full day of the lead-based paint renovation process. So happy to have some of those detailed conversations with you. If your property was built before 1978 and you have any questions or concerns, then we can definitely take that offline anytime you'd like. And then the things that are coming up in 2026 that the bills have been presented. The bills have either been shut down by the governor or they've been lobbied against at the last minute. One hot topic that we definitely have been told is coming back, and we expect it to be put into place in 2026 is taking the non-compliance notice change and increasing it from 5 days. The bills that have come across the governor's desk have been wanting to take it from 5 days to 14 days. So that non-compliance notice is that's your delinquency notice. So tenant doesn't pay their rent on the 1st of the month. They have a 5-day grace period. On the 6th of the month, they still haven't paid. We're giving them a 5-day non-compliance notice. Hey, tenant, you haven't paid your rent. Here's your late fee. You have 5 more days to pay your rent before on that 11th day of the month, we can go to the courthouse. We can file for a court date that's going to start the eviction process. So that 5 days is that non-compliance notice timeframe. And that's what some groups are wanting to increase. They're wanting to give tenants more of a chance to make right on their rent. And so while we don't see or think that it's going to go to a full 14 days, we do see that it's going to increase, maybe to a 10-day or something of that nature. So again, another cost of doing business, another risk of being a landlord is increasing that time before we can take legal action. Another thing that's expected in 2026 is that the approval of applicants that will no longer be able to include if they have had a prior unlawful detainer filed that was then canceled. So we go back to that tenant right of redemption. If the tenants have redeemed themselves and that unlawful detainer has been canceled, then currently on our background checks, currently on court records, currently on credit reports, we're going to see legal filings, whether or not it actually charged. And so this is very much looking like the criminal record, criminal background parameters that changed about 10 years ago, where we had to really dial in on what we couldn't just say you couldn't have a criminal record, and we can't discriminate if someone just has charges or just has arrests and no charges. So we've since then, so in the last 10 years, we've had to really hone in on what can we discriminate against when it comes to criminal history. And so it's violent felonies that they've been convicted for, sex offenders, things of that nature. And so I see that is what's coming up with the unlawful detainer filings, is we're just not going to be able to include that in our decision unless it's actually happened. So our political action committees, both on the property management side and on the realtor side, are really working towards protecting our homeowner rights, protecting our landlord rights, while also protecting our tenants as well. So that's those are things that are happening there. And we do, both as a company as well as several of us individually, do support with donations to our local PACs to hopefully bring legislation that's going to keep things as fair as possible for everybody. So next, and I guess I'll open up before we kind of go into some of Freedom's process changes and policy changes. Any questions from any of our landlord clients that are on regarding some of the legal changes and the upcoming expected legal changes?
We have nothing in the
Okay.
chat at the moment.
All right. Again, feel free to reach out to the team afterwards. We are, thanks, Melissa. We're happy to review some of that with you. All right. And then we have made, we're constantly making kind of updates and tweaks to our processes and our policies here at Freedom. And so I wanted to highlight some of those big changes that you'll be seeing here over the next couple of months. And it is our intention that these changes be as low impact to our landlord clients and our tenants as possible. We have made some changes to some of our maintenance processes over the last few months as we've been training some new team members. And we've had, some stumbling blocks with that. But we're not making the same mistakes twice. So again, thank you for those with the patience for that. But some of the highlights of changes and things that we have coming up. First and foremost, I actually just signed a contract with a company that's called Reconcile Daily. A big part of what we do for you as your property manager is take care of the accounting piece of your property, right? We take care of your rental income and paying your bills and making sure that end of the year, you can easily and quickly pull your reports, file your taxes, and have everything clean and simple. On the back end, we have a lot of monies coming in and monies going out, and there's different general ledger accounts and there's different things. And then this check bounces from a tenant, and then this tenant puts money in the wrong place. So on the back end, it can get pretty cumbersome for us here. And so we've decided to take that off of our team and take that off of an internal bookkeeper. And we're bringing in this company called Reconcile Daily, which I've looked into for several years and has an excellent reputation in our industry, and specifically focuses on one or two property management softwares. And what I'm really looking forward to, and I think what you'll see as well, is this is going to ensure that we are fully compliant on a daily basis with all of our trust accounting, proper general ledger coding. We've had some issues with a couple of properties where tenants' late fees have inaccurately posted to owners' accounts, and so we've ended up having to pull them back out, and it's caused some confusion and frustration. None of that will happen anymore. And most importantly, it's going to provide us for more frequent owner and vendor draws. So we'll probably start to see this in the September, maybe October timeframe, where your rent draw will be coming to you much earlier in the month. So that's going to be a huge bonus for all of our landlord clients, and then also our vendors getting paid more frequently. The second big change in process that we have made and are in the process of tweaking is with our application processing and timeline. As I mentioned, we have had a huge uptick in fraud. We've had a big uptick in renters that are trying to take advantage of the system. And so with that, we've, especially right from the beginning, we're tightening some of our approval criteria. One of those may cause some increased vacancy time for our landlord clients. And this is why. The current process that we've had is a tenant is approved to rent a property, and they're requested to provide us with certified funds to secure that property, and certified funds for their first month's rent and for their security deposits. And those need to be paid. The first month's rent needs to be paid and lease signed within 2 business days of their approval. And then security deposit due by 5 p.m. the business day before they move in. And certified funds in the past have been incredibly reliable. Certified funds being money orders and cashier checks. In this past year, we've had several instances of those not being honored. Some of our colleagues have had several instances of those not being honored, and had several instances of wire transfers being pulled back. And so that's forced us to say, okay, we're going to need to adjust the way in which we accommodate quick move-ins. So if your tenant is needing or wanting to start their lease within the next 10 days, then all of those funds to execute their lease, their first month's rent, their deposits, would need to be sent by wire transfer to Freedom. And that wire transfer needs to be received at least 2 days prior to their move-in, so that we make sure that that wire transfer is not going to get pulled back. We don't want to give access to the property to somebody that we don't have the funds for. Additionally, if they're needing to move in within like the next 2 to 3 days, then that's cash. So thankfully, we have a local office, we have local staff. And so if the tenants are needing to move in super quick, we actually had one this week where it was a very quick turnaround, and our processing was able to allow for that. And the tenant was in our office yesterday with cash. So this is the best way right now for us to make sure that we're taking care of your property, make sure that we are getting those funds from brand new tenants. Obviously, from there, they can pay their rent online using personal check and all of that, but we just need to make sure that getting them into the property is as secure as possible. We are also we're testing out right now a few third-party application processing and servicing companies. We haven't made a decision as to which one we're going to use, but again, taking that out of our team leading it to bringing in a third party that's all they do. And they may have more federal and more access to federal records, as well as they've got a lot more technology to determine if documents have been forged. Technology to determine if identification that we're getting a photo of is actually accurate. So there's been a lot of progress in that side of our industry. And so we want to make sure that we're partnering with the right servicer that's going to allow us to keep moving things quickly for you and increase that level of security. So those are the two big processes that have changed and will be changing. Additionally, most of our management forms and leases we have updated to be in alignment with our current processes, with some industry best practices and the latest VRLTA updates from over the past year. That'll include things like our lease agreement, our property management agreement, our home warranty addendum, and several other forms. Some of the high-level changes that'll be made to, for example, to our management agreement. And again, we're actually going to send all of these will be out by August 1 to all of our landlord clients with highlighted areas that have changed from what's been in place, giving the 30-day notice to our landlord clients before those changes go into effect for your property. For those of you that are on very old management agreements, we'll be sending out the new agreements for updated signatures so that across the board, everyone is playing from the same playbook. So some of the big things that we are changing, first and foremost, adding in that Freedom can serve as your registered agent if you're a non-Virginia resident. So currently, we have it disclosed in our management agreement that it's your responsibility as a landlord, if you are not a resident of Virginia, it's your responsibility to take care of sending the Virginia State Corporation Commission the appropriate documents. It's your responsibility for also notifying the IRS that you are a non-resident of Virginia. And so with our updated management agreement, we're adding that service in for our landlord clients, where if you would like for Freedom to serve as your registered agent, we can do so. And there'll be a process for that and everything, but just one more way to, hopefully make property management with us as simple for you as possible. We are also adding in a pet damage guarantee. Our current management agreement has a couple of guarantees associated with it. And one that We feel and have communicated with some of our colleagues and seen across the country that has helped to increase the or decrease vacancy rates and increase the comfort level for landlords to accept pets is if kind of Freedom shares in a bit of that. And so we will be adding in a pet damage guarantee. And in exchange for that, instead of our landlords getting pet rent for those properties that have pets, that pet rent will now be a pet fee that goes to Freedom. And in exchange for that, you get a damage guarantee that if those tenants vacate the property and there is damage to it caused by their authorized pet that exceeds their deposit, Freedom's going to be chipping in and helping out with a portion of that. Again, one of the big reasons why some of our properties do stay on the market a little bit longer is because they don't want pets. And so if we can help to alleviate some of that concern, then we would love to do so. We also, on the fee side, a couple of fees are being adjusted. And Melissa, yes, all right, we will make note of that so that we can get you updated on that. A couple of fee changes will be happening on our management agreement. For those of you that have been around for a while, you've seen that we have not changed our management fees in the 15 years I've been here. Our management fees have been 8% of the rent collected. We did add a minimum of $125 a couple years back. But other than that, we've made very little changes to our fee structure. And our cost of doing business is increasing. Our cost of insurance is increasing. And we want to make sure that we're providing the best quality to all of our landlord clients. So there are a couple of adjustments that'll be coming up. The first is that our minimum management fee will be increasing from $125 to $150 a month. So for those of you that have properties that have a lower rent rate and 8% is not already $150, then your minimum will go from $125 to $150. Additionally, for those of you with home warranties, as I said before, we have a hate-hate relationship with those right now. They are causing the most frustration with our residents, and they're taking a considerable amount of time for our team to manage home warranty service requests. And so we've got to make some adjustments there. Our home warranty claim fee is increasing from $35 to $55. Additionally, the last one I wanted to highlight is our lease renewal fee. For years, that has been a flat $400 fee, whether it's a 1-year renewal or a 3-year renewal. So we are modifying that, and with the new management agreement, that will be increasing from $400 to $500 on the lease renewal side. Those are the high level changes that are going to be happening to our management agreement and any fee changes. There's a couple of fee changes on the tenant side that they'll see some, most of which would be optional for them. Again, by end of day on August 1, everyone's going to get in their inbox some updated forms to review, to be able to go through at your leisure and let us know if you have questions. We do want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to read through and ask us the questions that you may have so that we're all playing from the same playbook. There's nothing more frustrating than a misunderstanding because a tenant or a landlord client didn't read a part of the management agreement and doesn't understand the authorization that we have and why we're doing certain things. That leads to the most frustration that we've encountered. It's just the not understanding, not having read, not having been clear on what property management actually is and how Freedom handles property management. So I very much appreciate everyone, being on today. We've been on for a little over an hour, and I've been talking for most of it, so I apologize. But I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you all feel that you can come to our team and ask whatever questions that you may, and we're going to do our best to do well by you and by your tenants. We will hang out for a couple more minutes to answer any remaining questions that you may have. We did have on the call a little bit ago one of our trusted vendors, our insurance rep, Corey Nicastro. He was our guest last month, and really gave some great information on landlord rental policies, what to look at, what to consider, what it covers, what it doesn't cover. If you have not watched that video, I highly encourage you to take a look back at the emails you got from us to re-watch that video. And Corey's got a wealth of knowledge here in the Northern Virginia market with insurance. So I'll open up to any questions that anyone might have before we wrap up. Okay. All right, excellent. Thank you, Melissa. You are quite welcome. All right, well, I hope everyone enjoys the last couple of days of July. Today is supposed to be one of the hottest days, and then we'll get a little bit of a relief for the next few, thankfully. I know I'm going to try to hit up the First Friday in Old Town Manassas on Friday night and enjoy the cool evening there. All right. Thank you all so very much. We will look forward to seeing you next time.